Okay guys, so this is our first video of the year, as you guys know. So as we get started in this video, I want to make sure I point out a couple of things. First of all, every time we do a video, we're going to be looking at essential questions. And that's going to mean that when we do a video or when we do notes in class, I want you to think about what are the things that you need to be learning as you're doing the video. And we can refer back to that often. In this case, it's going to be very obvious because as we take notes, we're going to be looking at these things. What is engineering? So by the end of this video, I'd like you to have a good understanding of how engineering fits into the world we live in. Okay, what do engineers do exactly? I think you might have an idea, but some more specific examples, and just specifically instead of what does a chemical engineer do, sort of what are the skills necessary for engineers in the world. And the last one is, what is the difference between an invention and innovation? And that's going to be a big thing as we go through the year, just understanding when you are inventing something and when you're innovating something. Okay, a couple other things that are new things that we're going to look at since it's our first video. I make the videos on purpose so you can pause. Okay, you're going to need to pause to have time to be able to write down things and to be able to come up, draw pictures when that's necessary, and think of your own thoughts and come up with your own ideas. So please make sure you do use the pause button. If you continue to let it play, you'll have to scroll backwards to catch up. You should have a notes page in front of you. We're going to start on the very first part. What I want you to do first is, as you can see, I'm going to ask you several questions. I want you to write just in your own words, and you really can't be wrong on this. What do you think of when you think of science? How is science important to our world, and what is it basically? I want you to do the same thing for technology, engineering, and mathematics. And there really can't be a wrong answer to this. I want you to think about what it means to you. After you do all that, obviously the letters in STEM refer to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. What is STEM? How is that brought all together? So you're going to need to pause the video for a couple minutes, write these things down, and then hit play when you're done. Okay, so hopefully you guys have done that now, so you have some early definitions, and we can look back at the end and kind of see how we compare to what we started with. So first of all, we're going to look at what they do. What scientists do is they investigate our natural world, and in the space provided, you're going to need to kind of draw this out as I go, or you can kind of watch the whole thing and then draw the concept, what we call a concept map at the end. So first of all, you have your scientists that investigate the natural world. Next, you have your technologists, that's the T in STEM. What they do is they apply science and math to designs. So they're designing and things like that. We have our engineers who create the things of our designed world. So as you can see, there's a path here. So they're creating the things that are designed. They also do a lot of designing, and they could be technologists. An engineer could be a scientist, an engineer could be a mathematician. And mathematicians, what their job is basically to use numbers to solve the problems of the world. So, their thing is kind of putting the things together, using the numbers to solve the problems, whereas maybe engineers, scientists, and technologists focus on different things. STEM is bringing this all together. Okay, it's bringing all four of these things together into STEM. Well, what does that look like? It looks like working together, whether it be four different people or whether it be one person using all of these pieces to solve the problems of the world. And really, it is the problems of the world. Basically, everything we have in our world today came from this process of science, technology, engineering, and mathematicians coming together. Such simple things such like a cell phone. Every piece of that had to have all of these involved. Every piece inside of there, the keyboard, the touchscreen, the memory, the computer chip, every piece of it had to have a piece of math, a piece of engineering, a piece of science, and a piece of technology rolled together. So again, if you need to copy the concept map down, pause the video. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to see how are they all needed. Okay, so how does this come together into products? And you should already have this chart on your table. We're going to do the first one together, and then I'm going to ask you to come up with one of your own. And it's pretty simple. What we're going to do is we're going to pick a very common household item. For example, a pencil, something that you guys use every day. So let's kind of look at that pencil and think, what are all the things that had to go into making that pencil? Just simply looking at it, you've got an eraser, you've got that greenish metal piece on the back. What was that for? Well, you might think, well, that's to hold the eraser on, right? Because you can't just put an eraser on the end of a pencil, it'll fall off. Okay, what else is going on in there? We've got the lead inside of it, right? In this case, it's really graphite, not lead anymore. We've got wood. Why wood is a surface? Who decided that, right? Why is that the best surface? Nowadays, of course, we have mechanical pencils. Why is it shaped as a circular shape, a cylinder? Why the length it is? Why the size it is? Why have all those pieces? All of those things that went into the decision of a pencil that we use today came from these 4 categories. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill this out together. And like I said, I'm going to go through 4 of them, and you can pause it and catch up. So the first part is the science. The science discovered that graphite can be used to write with, okay, and that rubber erases graphite. Okay, that was a scientific discovery. Without that, we don't really even know that we can write with pencils, and we don't know that we can erase them. Technology. Well, somebody had to create a writing device that doesn't use ink. Okay, you had to look at some things differently. Before pencils, we used ink for everything. And if you've ever seen those feathers that they used to write with way back in the day, this is a much better source because it's not permanent. There are a lot of things that are advantages of that. Engineering, someone had to design a device with graphite and eraser that's attached and a holder. Okay, so the attachment ended up having to be that metal piece, and the holder was the wooden cylinder. Well, why did the engineer use that design? They used the math behind it. What was the best length and width of the pencil? We could be holding a pencil the size of a toilet paper roll right now if someone hadn't decided that the best thing that fits in your hand is the size of a pencil. And you'll notice pencils are pretty much all the same size. Okay, also the shape. Why does the shape work? Could it be a curved shape, straight shape? Could it have been a circle? Of course, it could have been a lot of things. Some mathematicians applied some basic mathematical concepts to come up with this design. I don't want you to think that it happens in this order. Okay, it could have been in any order. In fact, they really, if you think back to the concept map, are happening all at once to create that thing in the middle. Now, what I want you to do is, again, pause the video so you can get these notes down. And I want to encourage you as you do notes in this class not to worry about copying what I say or copying what I put on the screen. Worry about putting it in your own words because I want it to make sense to you later. Now I want you to think of some other common household item. And this might be a little bit tough. I want you to think of something common, even something from your house, something you use at school, something that you do in your free time, anything like that. And you may not have all of the answers. This is something that we can discuss later, some of the things you guys came up with and how technology, engineering, math, and science might come into play. But I want you to try to think how science, technology, engineering, and mathematics can come together to do that. And I can tell you guys, this is the one that I kind of felt like was a little bit hard for me, to come up with. I don't really know the technology behind it. But think about technology more like, what was the new technology that came? So in this case, we have that writing without ink was a new technology. So for example, if you're doing a basketball, there's been innovations and inventions in basketball since the original one. So it might have been the first, basketball that has all those channels on it, for example. So that was a new technology, was that more channels could create better grip, or however you choose to think about it. So you're going to pause the video, probably take a few minutes to do this, and then hit play when you're done. So what is an engineer? Okay, and this is a pretty simple definition, but again, you can write it in your own words. Engineers use science, technology, and math. Okay, they use their knowledge of those things to solve practical problems. So real practical problems, things that can be solved in the world, things that can be created. So you can pause it for a second if you need to write down your definition or my definition. All right, next up, what are some of the things they do? And again, this isn't specifics. In the original PowerPoint, they talked about things such as, a NASA spaceship was designed by an engineer. They might be responsible for the roads you drive on. Different kinds of engineers are responsible for different kinds of things. And we're going to look at that through our career, our engineering careers assignment. What I want to talk about is some of the skills that engineers exhibit, some of the basic things that they do. And again, I have them pop all over the screen. You can make a list of them however you want to write it. So one thing they do is they design. So yeah, sure, a designer is a separate thing, but engineers design constantly. They build things, and we're going to do that through our robotics course. They invent. We're going to talk about what the difference is between invention and innovation in a moment. They analyze. Okay, they look at things and they look at situations and they determine what's needed. They orchestrate. Okay, that means they work with other people. They put things together. They're not a one-person show. They help other people work together to create tasks. They create. Okay, they come up with things that have not been done before. They conceive. That means they think of things. They have to be able to sit and think of things that other people haven't thought of. They evaluate, meaning they look at things that have been done and see, could it be better? Could it be improved? And they innovate. Again, we're going to look at what the difference between innovation and invention is in a second. So if you need to pause it, go ahead. All right. Okay, the last thing we're going to look at, well, second to last thing we're going to look at today is what is the difference between invention and innovation? Well, an invention is something that's new. Okay, I want you to really focus on that word. Okay, I want you to really focus on the word right here, new. Okay, that's the biggest and most important part. A new thing. That's the difference between an innovation and an invention. Invention is developing something new, a system, a product, or a process. A lot of people think an invention is some new thing you make, but an invention could be a better way to do something. Okay, it could be a way to create something through a process or a system that has never been created before. A quick example of that I thought of was, if you don't know these guys, these are the Wright brothers. Okay, the Wright brothers invented the first airplane. Now, technically, Da Vinci had some sketches of airplanes, but the first working airplane was developed by the Wright brothers. Okay, it's an invention. At that point, there had never been an airplane, so it was an invention. Everybody who took an airplane and modified it after that was doing what we call an innovation, because an innovation is improving upon an existing product. So the planes we have nowadays, and you could look at that picture, I don't know if I'd want to fly on that plane. The planes we have nowadays are a lot safer. They can hold hundreds of people. They're made of heavy-duty metal, very strong engines. There's a million things going on in there that are innovations. Okay, but the original airplane was an invention by the Wright brothers. Okay, an example of an innovation that I thought of is what they call this. You've probably seen the commercials right now for this XDAP Pro hose. And what it is, it's a hose that when you run the water from it, it expands on its own, and then the water shrinks it back down, so it doesn't take up much space. And if anybody's ever used a hose, they're kind of a pain because they're always kinking and always locking on top of each other. So this was an innovation on a hose. Okay, they'll probably tell you it's an invention, and it was something new that hadn't existed, but really it's an innovation on a hose. Okay, so there is a difference between an innovation and an invention. A lot of people think to be successful, you have to be an inventor. That's not true. Innovators have really what pushed our world forward. We don't have as many inventions as we have innovations. Innovations are very important. The cell phones we have today, there was cell phones way long time ago, but you would never want to use them with the technology you have nowadays. They look so different, no touch screens, didn't even have screens to begin with, just buttons and a speaker before and a place to talk. So we've had many, many innovations that really make the world we live in successful. And the last part, why learn about engineers? Okay, so this is something that I want, now that you've seen this presentation, why do you think in your world it's important to kind of understand engineers? Okay, and this isn't a question I can answer for you. I don't need, a long paper. I don't need an essay. I want you to think and write a sentence, maybe 2 sentences, why you think engineers are important. I'm just going to throw this one thing out here, is they make the world better. Okay, they definitely make the world better because our world would be completely different without engineers. So even if you're just applying it to your own world, why do you need to learn about engineers? Okay, so that's going to be the last thing we do. As you can see right below there, I have a spot for a URL you're going to need to type in on the computer. Okay, so you can open up a new window and do that. And it's going to just ask you a couple conclusion questions that are going to be required to be done to get points for this assignment. Okay, as far as these notes go, I'm going to go ahead and collect these things for now until we get our binders going. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.